Hi NeuroNation, Emily Morgan here. We are going to do a student spotlight with my OTA student Isaac Smith. He just wrapped up his level 1 field work with me at my outpatient neuro clinic. And I just always think it's so unique when students or even other therapists that I meet bring something that is unique and special and just kind of outside of what I'm used to doing. And I thought this was a really neat project to showcase. And it actually is a hot topic. It's on point, it's on trend with what we're talking about nowadays in rehabilitation conferences. So what Isaac has brought to us here is to talk a little bit about the 3D printing projects he made, and we're just gonna have a conversation about it. So I was openly admitting to you that I didn't know a whole lot about 3D printing. And when you came to me and you had all this stuff, I was like, oh my gosh, you gotta share everything you know about it. So can you talk to our audience about what 3D printing is?
Yeah, 3D printing is essentially where you take a file and you put in like a 3D printer and it starts printing it off. But instead of using like ink like you would with regular printing, it uses filament. And there's different types of filament. And basically what the 3D printer does is it heats it up and it lays it down in layers until it's created an object.
That is so cool. So how does it work in the world of therapy and rehab? Like, why would it be important for a therapist, an OT, a PT, a speech therapist to know about and possibly utilize or even purchase?
Yeah, so I think we all know like adaptive equipment isn't cheap.
Yeah, right.
So like these are built up key turners. These cost 30 cents to make, 30 cents. And it only costs $20 for one spool of filament, and that can last for so many different options. You could probably print off hundreds of these.
And what is an adaptive key turner?
Yeah, so you could put the key right here, and that will allow like someone with arthritis to adhere to joint protection principles and turn the key essentially.
And tell me about this one you made.
I actually didn't make this,
Okay.
so there's a website where they have files of these and they're completely free, they're open source, you can print them off for yourself. So that's what I did with this one. This is actually supposed to help you in opening a bottle. So that way you can squeeze it, and they have teeth on there so that way you can get a good grip.
So someone who has weakness of their grip strength or maybe sore hands where it just hurts them to grip hard, that's where that would come into play. Cool. And then what about this guy?
Yes, so this is just like, you know, tweezers. And what's really great about this, if you learn how to design the stuff using CAD or CAD designing, so that's computer aided design, you can create anything that you can possibly imagine and have it printed off. And you can make it adaptable to the individual, and you can systematically grade it up or systematically grade it down so you can meet the person right where they're at, so you can get them help them with a just right challenge.
And then this guy was a special design of your own. This
Yes.
looks complex.
So this is a work in progress. So this is an aperture mechanism. I did design this on my own. So an aperture, think of like a camera lens, how you have something closing from all different sides. So what I like about apertures is they can get larger and smaller, so they can grip all sorts of different sizes. So my thought process is to make a tube with 2 different apertures with a spring, so that way it's always tight, and when you apply an external force, it will open up to grip whatever is there. So I'm also thinking like a paintbrush, how it normally has a thin part and a thicker part, so someone who doesn't have much hand control but would have some elbow extension would be able to engage in painting.
Nice, excellent. And then you made this sort of complicated system. There's lots of different parts to it. Let's clear this out of the way.
Sure.
And show our audience about this.
Yeah, so this is a pegboard / 3D printed puzzle that I thought was a lot of fun. So there's different parts to it. So there's inserts, and then there are like rings that go around each part. So in order to complete this puzzle, your patient would have to engage in a lot of visual scanning, visual discrimination, and like this is printed off in a black filament, so you could have many different colors of filament, so that would possibly like challenge, you know, how well they have to focus on it. So you first have to start off by using like a tripod graphs to insert it into the puzzle and match that. But then you also have different rings that you would put on. And then after that, after you get all of the rings and the insert in, you can put the caps on. So
Very
there's some
cool.
there's some sequencing in there too.
And you mentioned making these in different colors, so black is not the only color option for your 3D printing. So you could really have a fun time just thinking about different combinations if you wanted to do different shapes in different colors and have them categorized at first and then put them down. You could have like a whole system or a whole case of this. I kind of want like many of these right now in different sizes and
Yes.
shapes, and maybe even bolted to different sorts of boards. I think there's just a lot of opportunities with this. So if you had any advice for a therapist like me who is not familiar with 3D printing but wants to possibly get started, what can I do and where can I find information on this?
Honestly, like with most things, YouTube is your best friend. I also have an account to Skillshare, so I've taken tutorials and learning how to use 3D printing. Learning the different softwares out there and what costs money, what is free. Also taking the time to look into different brands of printers because they're not all made the same. I know you can get them as cheap as $200, $250, but those ones, if you're going to use in like a clinical setting, I don't think they'd be like reliable enough. So yeah, go on YouTube, look up the price range of printers, learn about the different software. I use Fusion 360, and that's a free software, and there's other more expensive ones like SolidWorks, but I mean, I don't have $4,000 or $5,000 just lying around to, you know, buy whatever software. So there's a lot of great free resources out there.
Cool. And do you have any ideas kind of like in the works right now or on the drawing board that you haven't made yet that you're excited to make one day? Maybe you shouldn't share it because it might give an idea away, but if whatever you want to.
Ooh, yeah, I basically would like to keep making more pegboards kind of like this, or puzzles, but also like the inserts are the shapes that match the rings, and I'd like the inset to be like a different shape than what you put in. So instead of having circle rings and a circle insert, I would also like to have like maybe a triangle insert, but circular rings go on there.
Excellent. So what I want to ask our audience to think about is if you had the skills for 3D printing and if you had the printer, what would you make? How would you help your clients today? Well, hope you enjoyed. This was our first student spotlight, actually, so I hope to do many more of these in the years to come. Thanks, guys. See you next time.